And would like to present the experience of Jordan Food and Drug Administration and the department I was working with. So, of course, the experience with the surveillance programs that have been applying all through the years before. Okay. I would like to give a small introduction about Jordan Food and Drug Administration. Jordan Food and Drug Administration is the official body in Jordan responsible for the safety and quality of food in Jordan. The principal function of JFDA is to take all reasonable steps to ensure that food imported, produced, distributed, or marketed in Jordan meets the highest standards and to ensure that food complies with legal requirements and recognized code of food practice. Jordan Food and Drug Administration seeks on a yearly basis to implement a set of surveillance programs, including a national annual program and 4 specialist programs in order to monitor a range of potential risks in food. So we start by describing that surveillance leads to intervention and then evaluation for the integrated risk management. And also links between surveillance and intervention for hazard mitigation. The value, of course, of the information and then doing the right thing and doing it right. Surveillance and monitoring has many definitions. The definition of monitoring is the term describing a continuous effort to collect data to detect changes or trends in the occurrence in order to inform risk managers. Another meaning also is that it involves direct detection of microbial pathogens in food ingredients, products, or production environments. Surveillance is a special case of monitoring where data are used to assess the status in response to a predefined threshold. For some hazards, threshold may be 0. It involves the collection of human or animal foodborne disease data to identify problems in the food supply through analysis that detects clusters of cases and disease trends. The European Control Agency also has a specific definition for the surveillance, which is the ongoing collection, validation, analysis, and interpretation of health and disease data that are needed to inform key stakeholders in order to permit them to take action by planning and implementing more effective evidence-based public health policies and strategies relevant to the prevention and control of disease or disease outbreak. The prompt dissemination of information to those who need to know is as essential as ensuring the quality, validity, and comparability of the data. The surveillance for hazard prevention and control, especially during incidents, is when we detect a change in trend and then check the effectiveness of the control measures, and then by time, eventually freedom from infection. Elements of surveillance and monitoring programs are to collect data and then analyze this data according to statistics, and then interpret the data and gain information to act upon, and then to assess all the measures on the ground. Monitoring and surveillance are done on many levels. On the national level, the aim is to demonstrate freedom from hazard, outbreak detection, hazard control, and detect emerging hazards. Progress of hazard reduction programs. On the industry level, assure freedom from hazard, outbreak detection, of course, define herd product status, and the documentation of acceptable risk level. On the producer level is also the same as the industry, which to assure freedom from hazard, outbreak detection, define herd product status, and documentation of acceptable risk level. When designing a survey system, elements in using these designs are, of course, the objective, the hazard selection, the case definition, and diagnostic methods, target population, either region, species, producers, animals, products, and of course the timing and the sampling intervals, data management, analysis, and then methods for data analysis and feedback. At the end, we disseminate all the results. The objectives is to verify the effectiveness of food safety systems, to verify the safety of food in all parts of the country, and to determine the most reoccurring risk in food and to analyze the results scientifically. Also to identify the level of conformity of selected groups of food placed in the Jordanian market and consumed by citizens. Also to assist producers, importers, and traders into avoiding cases of invalidity and or non-conformity. To create a database for the benefit of decision makers, authorities, industry, producers, academia, and any other relevant agency. To assess the effectiveness of the measures taken by JFDA into controlling the safety of food in the Jordanian markets. To take corrective measures against producers responsible for the violation of the safety and quality of food. Also to enhance the citizens' confidence in the performance of the regulatory body in ensuring the safety and quality of food offered for their consumption. To base our legislations, guidelines, technical regulations, and decisions on scientific data. Usually, when samples are collected for our annual surveillance program, this is also is based on the ISO 7218 for the collection and transporting samples. And the ISO 7218 is the microbiology of food and animal feeding status general rules for microbiological examination. So the process of collecting and handling samples of food and raw material by Jordan by food inspectors during the implementation of the program is subject to the following instructions. And these instructions are usually given to the inspectors, either written or through meeting with them, and explaining the instructions for the sample collection. The term sample, wherever mentioned in the plan, means food or raw material of the same batch, expiry date, commercial brand, size, weight, and packaging method. The time and date are designated for the collection of samples for each region. In the event that there are 2 days per week for one region, samples must be distributed equally among the 2 days. Of course, this is for the capacity of the lab. Each region should commit to collect samples according to the plan for each quarter of the year. Commitment to the numbers of units and their weights contained in the sample size plan, provided that each unit is delivered separately and not as a single unit with a higher weight. Timing of the delivery of the collected samples should be before 12 noon. The process of collecting and handling samples of food and raw material by food inspectors during the implementation of the program is subject to the following instructions. The term sample, wherever, this is repeated. Inclusion of the largest possible number of brands and food establishments during the implementation of the plan, of course, expanding the area of sample collection. Also, collecting samples of food products, and raw material is done only for those preserved in their appropriate storage and packaging conditions. Collecting samples that carry a label so that they can be checked to show their conformity with the specification of their technical regulation. Samples should be handled and transported according to the instructions in the correct manner that ensure no damages and according to the nature of the sample. It is preferable to collect samples of raw nuts like pistachios from the warehouses or from plants and sweet shops. The symbol here means that the sample must be transported to the laboratory refrigerated as soon as possible. The symbol here means that the samples must be transported to the laboratory frozen as soon as possible. Samples that are refused to be received by the laboratory because they do not conform to the plan are not considered a calculated sample, and another sample must be collected in its place that conforms to the specification contained in the plan. The sample should be tightly sealed, labeled according to the instructions. Instructions for receiving samples by the food laboratory is according to the quality procedure. The methodology of implementing the surveillance programs are as follows. Samples are collected by JFDA inspectors in different governments of Jordan and sent to JFDA food laboratory according to an agreed schedule plan. Samples are received by the food laboratory according to a completely filled out sampling form. Testing is done according to the Jordanian technical regulation of each food item, in addition to other hazards that the program is targeting. Physical, microbial, and chemical testing includes natural toxins, food additives, and contaminants are done at the testing labs. Analysis, then, and interpreting the data, and eventually dissemination of information to all those involved, so that directed actions may be taken. And this all allows for evidence-based decision-making to make better decisions. And then national reporting. Of course, at the same time, results of the non-conformity lab reports are sent to the Food Directorate for them to follow up on critical violation, and then to visit the establishments to inspect, recollect samples for confirmation, and decisions are taken accordingly. Decision options for moving forward, either to start a new control program, or to change a control program, or to stop a control program, or do nothing, investigate further, and peace of mind. To start a new control program, when this decision is taken, 4 specialized surveillance programs are conducted every year based on the outcome and recommendations of the routine annual program. When there is concern about threats to our food supply, local, national, and global, and of course, upon risk managers' request. These programs are focused on specific foodstuff and specialized tests. Example of these programs are the pesticide residue program in specific food items. Last year, we did on packaged and clean vegetables, rice, red wine, and canned food. And adding items or taking out items from this program depending on the results of at least 5 consecutive pesticide residue programs. Veterinary drugs residue programs in chicken tissues were analyzed for residues of 32 veterinary drugs. Of course, the residues of drugs may be left in tissues at concentration that may be harmful to human health, and eventually antimicrobial resistance will be developed. So the objectives were for the detection of incorrect use of veterinary drugs, such as overdose or inappropriate use times, failure to implement best practices in poultry farming prior to slaughter. Another program was for the detecting of microbial chemical hazards in 107 samples of vacuum-packed chilled meat, which is highly imported into Jordan and highly consumed also. And the program covered 26 different brands from different origins. The 4th analytical program was conducted on foodstuff, on foods and supplements available in the Jordanian market, intended to promote weight loss for the presence of pharmaceutical weight loss drugs in response to a national food incident and several international reports showing detectable levels of scheduled pharmaceuticals in these products. Of course, at the end, surveillance remains to be the most powerful detection tool for detecting problems in food supply for years to come. Thank you.